Welcome, everyone. You're listening to Sanctuary's Coffee and Conversation. I'm Myrna Haskell, Executive Editor of Sanctuary Magazine. This is an online magazine for women that empowers and inspires with a focus on the arts, humanitarian and philanthropic pursuits, health and wellness, inspirational travel, career, and finance. You can find us at sanctuary-magazine.com. This morning, my guest is Dr. Emily Bobson. She is a chiropractor serving patients in the general Hudson Valley, New York area. She has a very, very family-friendly practice, and she's dedicated to helping her clients with overall wellness. Good morning, Emily. How are you?
I love doing this with you, Myrna. I'm so excited to be here.
I know, and this is your second time on this show, but we've been collaborating a lot together, and I'm just truly amazed with the amount of knowledge you have about overall health and wellness. And so I'm really excited to talk about this prioritizing health topic that we have today, and the fact that really busy women that are running here and there 12 hours a day feel like they don't have enough time, right?
Yeah.
So my first question for you is, why do you think that is? Why do you think women feel that they don't have enough time for, the healthy eating, the mindfulness exercises, the exercise frequently? Why is it that we feel so overwhelmed, like we don't have enough time?
Well, there's a lot of answers, different answers for that, but mainly we do put so much pressure on us and thinking that we have to achieve everything perfectly, especially women in high achieving fields like yours and mine, and also competing with, an idea that may not necessarily be true, that we have to be good at everything, right? So it's about like your expectations for yourself, and then getting confused as to what's your why, what's your purpose, what's your focus, what's your goal. So it's like being a master or a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Like, it's not very realistic to think you're going to have the house spotless, dinner on the table, and a full-time career, nurturing the children. That's not realistic for anyone.
That something's got to give, right?
Exactly. So your expectations for what's really possible and what you can create based on what your purpose is, and the clarity around, what your priorities are. So knowing your priorities.
Okay. And do you think that by sort of knowing your priorities and what your why is, that also helps to like motivate? Because I know with the motivation piece of it, if it's not scheduled into your day properly, or you're not really invested, it might be towards the end of the day, and now you're so exhausted you don't even want to think about that stuff. Do you know what I mean?
It has to be, it doesn't have to be anything, because that's like, that drains me immediately when I say you have to do this or you have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So what it needs to be is a choice, and then driven from what you love and what you want to create in your life. And our priorities are always, if we're moms, right, if we're parents, always our babies, our children, and our family, although that tends to get pushed into the back burner if you're trying to also support financially as well. So really being clear on that you're not perfect, right? And really getting into, what do I want to do consistently every day, inch by inch, to get me the little things that I want to do, which like drips into a bucket, right? So you have a bucket, and you're not going to fill that whole bucket in one day. So the consciousness around, what do I need to do to put little drips into this bucket? And then, believe it or not, you'll look back. Usually it takes about 2 weeks to establish a good.
I was going to ask that. Yeah. Okay.
So, oh man, I wrote a menu up. I consistently did 5 minutes of meditation every day. So I was coming into my day with peace and, grace. And then I was able to do 5 minutes of yoga. And then I was able, so you schedule it all out. And then, believe it or not, within 2 weeks, you're like, oh, this is manageable. Like, I know, but there's always that initial part where you're like, oh, how am I going to do all of this? But
yes,
your priorities.
Right.
And then there's always my biggest challenge is I have everything figured out, and then all of a sudden a wrench will get thrown in.
Okay,
Like
so yes.
dentist. We had to cancel this first meeting that we had last week because my daughter had a dental emergency, and there was no way. And at first I was like, oh, I can't do everything. I have a commitment. But then I'm like, take a deep breath, what are your priorities? You know that you can arrange it. You know that it's okay. I'm going to call Myrna. I'm going to tell her what's going on, and I'm going to rearrange it. And it's not the end of the world.
Right. That's what I think we do a lot of the times is we make it the end of the world. And I'm going to share a really quick story if you don't mind. So like last month, I threw my back out. I have spine issues. And so I'm used to it. I've lived with it all my life. I'm much, much better now because I have all these exercises and things that I had to do in therapy. But there's another wrench, right? So you had to take care of your daughter, and I had this issue, and the June special issue was looming, which was huge.
Right.
And so I guess I just want to like tap in a little bit more into that piece where when you're doing something on a regular basis, you have your 2 weeks, you're past your 2 weeks, as you say, so you're in a rhythm now, you're feeling really good about it, you're probably less lethargic and generally more motivated about it, right? But then a wrench is thrown in with something that happens with your health, with your family, an emergency with your elderly parents, whatever it is. Now you simply do not have the time because you have to hyper focus on this other emergency, and then you have to get back into it. It's almost like it's harder. You've been doing it and now you have to get back into it after that. That's what I personally find to be hard, I guess, because once I'm in my rhythm, I'm really good. And then a disaster happens. I get out of the rhythm of the everyday wellness. And then it's almost harder to get back into it. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. And I think that's where probably if you did a poll where most women get stuck. And I believe that's where the rhetoric, how you speak to yourself and how you frame that because we are always going to have things happen to us that throw us off, throw the wrench in. That is just something like taxes and death, like it's gonna happen, right? So how are you going to reframe that for yourself? How are you going to speak to yourself about it? Are you going to put yourself down and make it a tragedy? Or are you going to say, maybe I need to reevaluate what it is that is important to me right now? And now my mom is ill, and I need to be now where a lot of women, families are in this situation where they're taking care of children and their elder parents.
Yes, that's right.
Right. And so my priorities in a minute have just completely changed, right?
That's right.
So it's about being kind to knowing that we're flexible. There's flexibility and understanding and kindness around that shift. So you can't now do the routine you were doing. It's going to change. So how do you help yourself be as flexible as possible? Because you're going to have to do that for the rest of your life. So it's not around maintaining the routine as the same. It's about fluidity.
Yes. Oh, I love how you said that. And I've heard you speak a lot about gratitude as well.
Yes.
And I love how you talk about that. And I think that in itself makes people like realize where their priorities are, what their why is. Do you want to talk a little bit about the gratitude piece and how that all fits in?
It all flows into that. So we know, my past history of being very, very ill for a very long time, and then having to figure out how to stay present in that place of where I didn't want to be. I wanted to fight out of it, and I had to surrender. So it really is about surrendering to what is, and then creating a space where there's nothing wrong, even though the worst thing in the world has just happened to you. And this is not about being Pollyanna, positive thinking. That's not what it's about. It's about, again, really being with what is and allowing yourself the fluidity and the ability to be able to say, how can I reframe what's just happened? And it's not about ignoring the part of it that's traumatic for you. It's about accepting it in a way that you can actually create a new idea around it. So I'm not saying, oh, the day, even though it's raining, it's a sunny day, you know, like that's not going to work. It's about going to be authentically admitting to where you are. My back went out and I'm feeling very vulnerable and very scared right now. So honoring that's where you are.
Okay.
Taking a sacred pause in that moment and joining yourself in there. You will not lose yourself. What you will do is you will answer the call that your body is begging you to recognize, not in doing, but in being with that situation, even if it's just 5 minutes of breathing and going
Okay.
to that space and saying, what have I not been giving myself that I need to give myself right now? And that would just be, just like you would someone you love very dearly, that momentary pause of connection in that to yourself.
I think a lot of women have a hard time doing that. I think that's really what our problem is. We're so focused on taking care of everybody else all the time,
Right. And
right?
it's totally understandable. And I think there's only so long you can run roughshod over yourself over and over again. There's only so long you're going to get away with that, unfortunately. So I like to tell the people that I love, including myself, right? There's nothing wrong here. It's just part of what's going to happen. Sometimes our backs go out. Sometimes we get sick. Sometimes people we love get sick. Sometimes we have to cancel meetings. Sometimes things don't go the way we plan. But the reality is, if I don't stop and resource myself, nothing else is going to go the way I want it to go or flow the way we need it to flow. So we talked about this last time. Oxygen mask on, you first.
Yes, I love that analogy that you use. Absolutely, right?
And
You're
it's
in the plane. What are the instructions?
put it on.
Make
man.
sure you're going to stay conscious so you can help everybody else, right?
So let's define what our oxygen mask is. What is that? It's breathing. It's another wonderful technique we talk about is gratitude. What's right, not what's wrong. Even though it seems like the worst tragedy in the world to throw your back out, what's right with this moment? Now, I'll give you an example. This is kind of nutty, but when I got breast cancer, of course, the first thing I thought was, I'm dead, right? You hear cancer, you think you're dead. Everything I worked for, what's going to happen to my kids? How is this all going to work? I can't stop working. How am I going to stop? My kids need, nutty, right? What I learned in that moment, because I'm still here, right? 8 years later, what I learned in that moment was, and it was a hard lesson, what's good about this breast cancer? That's pretty crazy, right?
Yes.
But
When you look at the face of it, yes.
Yes. Where can I got chills. Where can I make friends with this adversity and become partners with it so that I can come out of this in a more powerful way? Because I do believe these are all lessons leading us back to ourselves.
I love how you look at, that's what makes you such a fabulous health practitioner. You've gone through hell and back, so to speak, and the way you were able to heal yourself actually from within outward is amazing. And I think that's why, the last time I had you on the show, the way people reacted to it was so great, because I think you just have this knowledge about it through experience, and you just have this certain way about you that people can tap into it. So that was segueing into the next piece, which I know you're really anxious to give our listeners some tips and some ideas for things that like these really busy women can do where they don't have to like fit in 45 minutes or an hour or whatever they're, you know, that daunting amount of time seems to be with them. So can we try a couple of these surefire ways for busy women to stay healthy?
I think one of the best things that I found to do the healing work, other than being regular chiropractic care, you know, drinking water every day, making sure that you get some sun without sunscreen, like vitamin D, like all that stuff, right? There's a whole, like, you know, 7 best doctors, and you're the best doctor for yourself. But the most efficient, surefire way to connect to yourself immediately is breath.
Okay.
It's the first thing our body says, oh, what's coming into me and what's going out of me, it can be regulated. In other words, when you can look at someone and know right away if they're going to get better and stay better, or if they're going to stay ill by the way they're breathing.
Wow. I hadn't thought of it that way. Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Because when you're anxious, right? And you're experiencing high anxiety, you're probably breathing shallowly, right? And fast.
Yes, you're breathing in the top of your lungs, right? But think about this, when you're just breathing in the top of your lungs, what's going on with the rest of the lung, and how much oxygen is the rest of your body getting, which then sets the tone for what state you're going to be in, whether you're going to be in a fight or flight state. And you cannot be in that state and in a healing state at the same time. You just can't. So you're going to do one or the other. You're going to go fight or flight, and you're going to do what needs to be done, right? Not be late for that meeting. Make sure you get the dinner on table. Make sure you get to that, whatever else next you have to do. But you're only in the part of your brain that processes lifting a car off your child, right? If you have to
Yes. Oh my goodness, I was thinking of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, thank God we have that capability.
That's the fight or flight. The lifting, there's so much adrenaline, right?
That's right. But now we perceive a computer crashing or being late for a meeting as a life-threatening situation.
I see.
So now we're shooting out hormones in our body that's creating chronic inflammation. And now we have the highest rate of disease like diabetes, heart attacks, and all the cholesterol issues because of the chronic stress. So now we can just take that pause every day, even if it's a little time a day. You'll anchor into what it feels like to truly be in the rest and digest part of our nervous system, which is where you're going to be able to think your way out of solutions.
So that's what the breathing exercises do. They bring you back to that. They take you out of fight or flight, and they bring you back.
We have like a little bit of, I don't want to take up too much time, but that's the crux of it.
Okay.
You can do this really quickly. And I am a big information, like I love information, right? So I'm always reading and looking on YouTube and listening to other people on TED Talks and stuff. And I found a couple of people like that really gave me what I needed in order to access quickly. And there's this one practice, and it's called the 3 practices of breathing. And it's called Change Your Breath, Change Your Life. And you can do a type of breath to get you balanced right away in the moment. And you can do another kind to get you to go to sleep. And then you could do another one that will get you ready for a meeting.
Oh, I love that. So all different types.
So let me show you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And Lucas Rockwood is the one that came up with this. So I need to give him credit, and he's amazing. So one he calls water, whiskey, and coffee. So water is 4 breaths in slowly, and as you exhale, 4 out. So you, not 4 breaths, sorry. You inhale, count to 4. So let's do it real quick.
Okay.
You take a deep breath in, count to 4 in your head. Ready?
Okay. Yep.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Out slowly. And you do that for like, I think he says, I like to do 10 rounds of everything. So you do that 10 times. So you would
And
count.
so that's no big deal. It's
No.
not taking forever,
No,
and
it
you've brought
isn't.
yourself back down. You can think now. You're
That's
more
right.
relaxed. You've lowered your anxiety.
Balances your nervous system. Then you can
Okay.
do whiskey. I want to go to sleep. I can't stop my brain. Oh my God, I'm just going on a speeding train and I jumped off and I don't know what to do next, right?
Okay.
And this is 4 in, so count to 4 in, and then 8 out. So blow out slowly, count to 8. 10 rounds of this. That's going to lower your heart rate.
That's almost a little more meditative. Yeah, with that slower breath out. That's what it just felt like to me,
Yep.
doing it the one time. So I can
Right.
imagine doing it repetitively.
10 rounds again, lower blood pressure, stimulates the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest and think and feed and breed and have a brain, create a symphony, whatever it is you need to do. Then you have the coffee. Now this one is you're focusing on the exhale. Take a deep breath and push out. But you want to really push the diaphragm down, and you'll feel.
Okay, so you're down deep, right? Not here.
You're breathing in and you're going, and he says it's like a sneeze.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yes.
So that stimulates your sympathetic nervous system. I feel like we're overstimulated anyway, but if I'm stressing out, like before a meeting, like getting present, that's a great way to get you to get engaged and to be like, I'm ready for the game,
Okay.
Now that's only recommended to do in the morning or like at 3 o'clock when you need a cup of coffee and you can't get one, or maybe you want
Okay.
to, right? You can get your brain alert and stimulated with that breath.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. And that's really
So that's
great.
coffee.
That's coffee. So it's
Okay.
water, whiskey, coffee. That's how you remember.
Yeah.
So water, no matter what, anytime, you can always benefit from that. Whiskey, going to sleep, calming your butt down, calm down, whiskey.
I need this one.
And so that's the breath work. And then I want to give you another really quick way to get engaged and to get present is these power poses, which are so good for women to really learn. Now, have you ever seen a man in a meeting and he'll sit in the chair with his the man splay where his legs are open?
Yes. The man splay.
The man splay. So like I struggle with this all the time, and I need to remember that the way I hold my body and the way people perceive me is going to kind of it will, I guess, give me back energy. In other words, if I'm walking around like this, I'm not engaging, and people aren't drawn to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I am conscious of shoulders back, chin square. People feel more safe with me, more comfortable with me. And when I'm trying to help someone get better, like in the practice, there's a therapeutic benefit to that for them and for me, because everyone feels good around that type of energy, right? So when you want to, I guess you want to just get back in that feeling of I'm safe and in control, you're always going to think of opening up.
Okay.
And you can literally get hormones to change in your body immediately within 3 minutes.
Okay.
This is from Amy Cuddy. She calls it the power poses. She is a genius. You can also find this on YouTube. And it really, Wonder Woman pose, like hands on hip, open legs, grounded. Give yourself 3 minutes in that pose and watch how you feel after that.
So you can do these. When would you suggest would be a good time to do these? Because this is almost also like a, it's going to give you confidence, say, before a big speech in front of hundreds of people. I think we all think more of like just trying to calm our anxiety, but we also need that confidence, which in itself will calm the anxiety, right? So do you suggest doing both, a bit of breathing, a bit of these power poses?
If you are in crisis, and you can't get yourself out of bed because you're overwhelmed. And we've all been there. Just anchor into one thing. Why are you here? Get that in your brain. It's important that you know how important it is that you're here and how much you contribute.
And that's back to the gratitude
A little
piece
bit
too.
of gratitude for yourself, right? And then do, how hard is it? You can do it. 4 breaths in, 4 count out, even if it's 5 times, even if it's 4, who cares? Just do a little bit and then get up and stand with your legs open and your arms out. And then that's one drip in the bucket.
Yep. And that's not a daunting thing. Somebody could do that in their office before they go to the conference room, right?
And so
yeah, it sounds
totally
almost, I'm hearing this and I'm like, almost like, oh my goodness, this is so simple. Yet it does so much for you.
It really does. And I love what Amy Cuddy says about fake it till you make it. And I love that she said this. I wanted to share this with you. Tiny tweaks lead to big changes. So that you can feel like you're looking at this massive thing you have to achieve or deal with, but coming back into the micro of tiny changes, leads to tiny tweaks, little tweaks, big changes. And then the other one, which I love, is fake it till you become it.
Fake it till you become, yeah, because the more you do something, the more you repeat, right? The more you're convinced, because we can do the same thing negatively, right? So we could tell ourselves we're not good enough, we're not good enough, we're not good enough, and ergo will become not good enough, right?
Well, yeah, and then
so it's the same in the other direction with positivity.
Exactly. So we can physically change, and women are amazing because they're so, most of the time, on a whole, as a group of humans, we don't like to lie. We do not like to fake, like we feel like frauds if we're like, we don't got it all together. And one of my biggest things is I'm a fraud because I still have issues with my food and my weight. And, I don't look at all the ways that I'm not a fraud, right? I look at all the ways that I'm a fraud, and that's crazy thinking. So I do this to stop that old tape or whatever that is from stopping me from being in the game with you and all these amazing humans that can benefit from my perspective of what I offer. And we all have that. So fake it till you become it. You're not a fraud. Hold your space in the world. Hold it, man, because you got something to offer and you deserve to be able to express it.
So all of this too, the gratitude, the loving self, the understanding that if you're not in a good headspace and a good, healthy condition, that you're not going to be able to help those you love because you're going to be falling apart, right? Can I ask you real quickly, do you have anything in terms of like stretching or any of those kinds of things, or maybe a resource that listeners can go to for that too? I've been doing a lot of reading on this. Everybody knows that they're supposed to do cardio workouts, right? And to do some strengthening and mix it up. But stretching, I think particularly for our demographic, women in midlife or women that are reaching their elder years, that stretching is so important. You have to still be able to tie your shoes, right? You get a lot stiffer when you get older. Do you have like a simple little something you can tell us about that?
So I love, I don't know, so it'll be a little bit hard to show you what it is.
Right, on this probably.
General,
yeah.
Yoga with Adrienne is my go-to.
Okay.
I don't have to be in like any kind of yoga clothes in front of other people, and I'm safe in my home, and that's like my favorite. So she's got these like 5-minute yoga routines, and you can specifically pick what you want.
Oh, that's great. And they're only 5 minutes?
Oh, no,
again, that's easy to fit in.
17 minutes, 30 minutes, you could go and find Yoga with Adrienne, and she'll have all these. And that's where I learned my most favorite pose to show all my patients to do. So it's like opening up, it's almost like a sun salutation. You open up, you take a deep breath, you do everything mindfully, slowly, no jerky movement.
No jerking, right.
calm and present. And you literally do, you open, you come down, you touch your feet, you come up really slowly, and then you do that like a few times. So you're hitting and you keep your stance open, right? And then you can also bend and sit, which is the goddess pose, which is my favorite.
Yes, I love that one too. And so it's both stretching and meditative at the same time. So you're killing two birds with one stone.
Right. And you incorporate the breathing while you do it. And you can literally do the sun salutation and then go down into the goddess pose and then come back up again, and really slowly and gently. And she's really into like, okay, now consciousness of breath. So don't worry about the pose as much as you are about breathing and being mindful about where you are in your body. So that connects.
And so let me ask you this, Emily. So you've given us several resources. Thank you so much for that. I know that, you know, some people don't have, a lot of people don't have personal trainers. Some people don't have gym. You know, they don't subscribe to a gym somewhere, you know, in their immediate area. So these kinds of online things not only give our listeners the opportunity to just do it at home or even in their office quickly if they're on a lunch break or whatever, but also those who might not have the means for more expensive, you know, physical training. So so are these like these different little 5-minute videos and these things, do they have to subscribe to something, or are these just like free to the public for these little short?
No. Everything is free. YouTube,
oh, that's great. That's great.
So many.
So any woman, no matter what their means, can do these mindfulness and physical stretching yoga activities through these sites.
Only thing you have to drum up is a little bit of self-love.
Yes. And that should be easy. You just have to pause to do it, right? So I know everyone that's listening to you is like, wow, I love what she's saying. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk about your practice, what you do, what you love about it, and how people can reach you.
Okay. So that's the hard part, right? Because we have such a hard time, like really, women always feel like, oh, self-promoting is selfish, right? So I definitely struggle with that. But the whole purpose around my practice is connection, right? Connection to your brain that connects to your body through the outside world to the inside world. So you don't have to have a bad back or something to hurt you to need or want chiropractic care. Chiropractic care is really about connecting you to source within yourself and source in the outside world, whatever that source is for you. So everything works that you do. You can do physical therapy, you can do massage, you can do all kinds of yoga, breath work, all of that. But if you don't have that connection, that basic connection for your brain to the rest of your body, nothing works. So let's just get that, let's get that clear. Let's get your nervous system working. Let's get your brain and your body communicating effectively. And after that, everything you do won't be so hard.
Okay. I love that message.
I do too, and it makes sense to me.
And so you see patients, you have your office up in Red Hook. So you see patients there. And we're going to have, right when this ends, folks, we'll have Emily's URL up so that you can go and visit her website to get more information.
So I am very committed to everyone having access to experiencing chiropractic care, because one of the things that I find is the biggest tragedy in my office is people come in after being dead, almost dead, you know, inside for so many years, and no one's saying this is an option for you, getting your nervous system cleared so you can adapt and heal better, right? So that's a tragedy to me. So I want to be your chiropractor, but if I can't, I want to find you one. So if anybody needs or wants this access to this, and you want to, I know a lot of chiropractors. So if I can't be your chiropractor, I'm so happy to help you find one.
Oh, so thank you. Thank you, Emily.
Right. So
that's very generous of you. Thank you so much for being here this morning with us. I'd like to close by wishing all our entire Sanctuary community good health, happiness, and continued inspiration. Until the next time, take care, everyone.
Love you. Bye.